Alright, my name is Fernando Diaz, and I have a theory on dimensions, and I want to get this out there because if I'm wrong, I want somebody to say, hey, that's wrong, and this is why, so that I don't have to keep thinking about it. But if it's right, or if it actually lends to somebody else recognizing something and taking it further, then I definitely want to be part of that chain. But this is how I see dimensions because it makes sense to me. It makes a little bit more sense than the other stuff that I've seen out there. But the idea of a dimension is, first, we would have, let's just say, a dot or a starting point. And a lot of this stuff is from people who have come, who I listen to on YouTube, who I read. Carl Sagan, love the idea about flatlanders. But if we have a starting point and an ending point, and essentially what we can have in between there is our first dimension. And that's something that's not argued to. It's not something that you could say is wrong. Can't argue about that. We have a second dimension when we actually add length or width to our first dimension. Again, that's something that that we all know about. Everybody always says that the next dimension is just 90 degrees off the last one. But in the first and second dimension, I really don't see how it's just 90 degrees off the first or second one. It makes sense when you go to the third dimension, which is basically where we live. We live in the third dimension, and that is first and second dimension cubed. So after this, we also live in time and space. So we have the space, but time, if you think about how time progresses, we're constantly moving through space, through time. And I've seen it described as we could have little slices of our life every second, every minute, every hour going forward. And if we were able to look back, we would see those same slices of our three-dimensional life going backwards also. So to me, that's my understanding of 1 through 4. That makes a lot of sense to me. What I feel like is, though, this idea that we started with a beginning and an end, and that line that goes through it to make our first dimension, why couldn't that be another view of the fourth dimension outside of it? We talk about flatlanders. They can't see everything because they're right in the midst of it. What if that fifth dimension is something that can see dimensions 1 through 4 as a line segment? What if the sixth dimension is just actually adding some length and some width to that? I've definitely heard people describe the fourth dimension as having an opportunity to travel in these directions also. That looks like that to me. The seventh dimension would be the entirety of what this would look like. And an eighth dimension would be what this looks like going through space and time. Those of you who can see what I'm doing, you can definitely see a pattern. We have 1 through 4, we have 5 through 8. But what if somebody was able to see this as that single line also? There's 9 and 10. There's 11. And there's 12. If we were able to master 1 through 4, we could definitely find ourselves in a position where we could travel through time, front and back. I don't think we can master that at all, even though that exists. Everything that happened, everything that will happen exists, unless we were here. Through here, within this dimension, which would be the seventh dimension, right here, I think that's where you could possibly start looking at your wormhole theories. Because within our 4 dimensions, cubed, that's where we could start finding plots. But I really believe that right here, when you get into the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th, which is right there, I think that's where we find the multi-universe theories. I think right there is where all of a sudden the idea of unknown energy, of dark energy, of unknown forces are created right there. This is dimension 1 through 4. This is 5 through 8. And this would be 9 through 12. It seems simple. To me, it seems logical. Just as the Flatlanders weren't able to see when we went into a third dimension, I don't think we're able to see these other ones. And I think that we are trying to explain them in terms in which that we can say we can successfully test them. But we've been using the same method, the same idea of dimensions for a little over 100 years right now. And this is just something that came to me recently. Again, my name is Fernando Diaz. And if I'm wrong, please tell me I'm wrong. But if I'm right and you know something, please let me know that too. Thank you.